In today's world, where power shifts like grains of sand, the story of Myanmar's military junta is a captivating tale of rise, fall, and resurgence. In today's video, we're going to look into the complex saga of Myanmar's military junta. We'll explore their rise to power after independence and their grip on the nation until 2010's partial democratization. We'll look at their shocking return in 2021 and, most interestingly, their recent struggles for control in 2023. Keep watching as we explore the dynamic shifts in Myanmar's political landscape and witness the emerging glimmers of hope for a new and stable government. But before we understand Myanmar today, we need to take a trip into the past, back to the pivotal year of 1948. This was a time of monumental change and newfound independence for the nation. Imagine a country emerging from the shadows of British colonial rule, its people filled with hope and aspiration for a brighter future. This is where the story of U Nu, a key figure in Myanmar's political saga, begins. U Nu stepped into the limelight as the first Prime Minister of an independent Burma, known today as Myanmar. He was a man of vision, a firm advocate for democracy, in a country releasing itself from the shackles of decades of foreign control. U Nu's rise to power was a political shift and a symbol of national awakening. On January 4, 1948, Burma waved goodbye to British rule, standing on the cusp of a new era. In 1952, Burma took another leap towards solidifying its national identity. The country declared itself a republic, and U Nu transitioned from the first prime minister to the first president. But this wasn't a simple title change. It was part of a deeper transformation within the country. The stress of Yangon buzzed with the energy of change, the air thick with possibilities, and the spirit of independence. U Nu's leadership was marked by his unwavering commitment to democracy and his vision for a peaceful and prosperous Burma. Instead of being a politician, he was a beacon for hope for a nation trying to find its place in the post-colonial world. Under his guidance, the country undertook ambitious projects aiming to improve the lives of its people and establish a democratic framework. However, as with many nations trying to transform, Burma's journey was not without its challenges. U Nu's tenure was marked by internal conflicts, ethnic divisions, and the daunting task of building a nation in a diverse society. Burma's political landscape was a mosaic, intricate, colourful, and fragile. But U Nu's role in Myanmar's history laid the groundwork for the country's future trajectory. His story is one of resilience, vision, and a continual pursuit of democratic ideals during great uncertainty and change. Skip forward to 1958, and Myanmar is currently on the brink. Political instability is rife, and the nation is in dire need of a steady hand. Enter General Ne Win, a figure of authority and command. He took the role of Prime Minister and led a caretaker government. His takeover was a sign of the military's growing influence in Burmese politics. 2 years later, in 1960, the plot thickened even more. Having briefly stepped down from the prime ministerial role, General Ne Win made a dramatic return to power. It was a political chess game, with General Ne Win keeping allies and enemies on their toes. His return to power was a strategic move that set the stage for what would come. On March 2, 1962, General Ne Win orchestrated a military coup that overthrew the civilian government led by U Nu. This sent shockwaves across the country as the dawn of a new era. Military rule had arrived in Myanmar, and with it came a new chapter filled with uncertainty and apprehension. But why did they do this? There are several reasons. Myanmar faced significant political instability and economic challenges during U Nu's tenure. The government faced an uphill battle in managing a country marked by ethnic tensions, economic struggles, and political dissent. This chaos and uncertainty undermined the effectiveness of the government. There was an ongoing conflict in Myanmar's diverse ethnic landscape, and the U Nu government faced criticism for its ineffective approach to these tensions. The military argued for a more centralized and authoritarian approach to maintain control and effectively address those issues. Then there were the government's apparent economic mismanagement. Their more socialized politics were criticized for their negative impact on Myanmar's economy. To many in the military circles, the country needed a drastic change in economic policy and direction. Accusations of corruption within UNU's government further damaged public confidence in his administration. The military used these as their rationale for intervening, claiming that their takeover was necessary to root out corruption. Finally, the military justified their actions by claiming the country was at a risk of disintegration due to the government's failure to manage various challenges. They argued that a more centralized, disciplined, and authoritarian government would maintain order and unity. Ne Win's influence remained strong for the next several decades, but the winds of change began to blow in the 1980s. In 1988, the stress buzzed with the voices of protesters, calling for political reform and an end to military rule. During these pro-democracy protests, Ne Win resigned from his position. But this wasn't the end of the story. The military was at the core of Myanmar's political fabric, and they retained control. After Ne Win's resignation, the State Law and Order Restoration Council, or SLORC, was established, marking continued military control just under a new name. As the political landscape changed, another key character emerged, General Saw Mung. He had been a key figure in the 1962 coup, and his role would steer the country into another phase of military control. Fast forward to 1988, and General Saw Mung led a coup on September 18th. This was a direct response to a nationwide pro-democracy movement that threatened to upend the military's long-standing control. After the coup, General Saw Mung renamed SLORC to the State Peace and Development Council, or SPDC, to continue his control. His tenure was known for its tight control, as the military sought to stop dissent and maintain its grip on power. But by 1992, internal conflict within the military and mounting international pressure forced General Saw Mung to resign. This marked another shift and showed the international community's increasing focus on Myanmar's government issues. As the 2010s dawned, Myanmar experienced a seismic shift in its political landscape. The nation had long been under the iron grip of the military junta. However, it was now witnessing the first rays of a new dawn, a partial transition to civilian rule. But this wasn't a complete overhaul of the system, as the military still significantly influenced the country's politics. The military junta indicated a series of political reforms, including releasing political prisoners. They legalized opposition parties, allowing for political pluralism previously unimaginable under strict military rule. Then came the 2010 elections, which were a landmark event, testing Myanmar's commitment to reform and the military's willingness to loosen its hold on power. Enter Aung San Suu Kyi and the National League for Democracy, or NLD. She was a key figure in Myanmar's pro-democracy movement and had spent several years under house arrest. The NLD was a beacon of hope for many in Myanmar, and they participated in the 2012 by-election. The NLD's landslide victory was a resounding statement from the people and their desire for a democratic future. It began a new chapter of hope, but challenges and complexities were soon to follow. In 2021 came a flashback to the darker days of military rule. On February 1st, the nation's citizens woke up to a reality that seemed like a nightmare from the past. In a bold move, the military, led by Senior General Min Aung Hlaing, staged a coup. They detained key civilian leaders, including Aung San Suu Kyi and President Win Myint. The country was gripped by fear, shock, and disbelief, with the streets falling silent, overshadowed by the looming presence of the military. But how did this happen? Well, it was the military's unsupported and widely disputed claims of election fraud during the 2020 elections, where the NLD and Aung San Suu Kyi secured a clear victory. The 2021 coup was a catastrophic reversal of the democratic gains Myanmar had painstakingly achieved over the years. Senior General Min Aung Hlaing's role in the coup catapulted him to the center of the political stage. Under his leadership, the military tried to consolidate its power, justifying its actions as necessary to preserve the nation's stability and integrity. But to the people of Myanmar and the international community, this was a blatant power grab and undermining of democratic principles. It plunged the country back into an era of uncertainty and repression. Then, in 2023, the Brother Alliance emerged as a formidable force against the military junta. The group was comprised of the Taung's National Liberation Army, TNLA, the Arakan Army, AA, and the Myanmar National Democratic Alliance Army, ANDAA. These groups united in their opposition to the junta's rule, launching coordinated attacks across Myanmar. This led to significant territorial gains, with the alliance gaining significant territory along the Myanmar-China border. Other groups like the Karen National Liberation Army (KNLA) and the Karenni National Liberation Army (KNLA) also played crucial roles in the uprising by launching attacks on military bases. These were part of a broader resistance movement that signaled a turning point in the long-standing conflict between the military and other groups in Myanmar, with the junta losing control in certain areas. This is part of the nation's difficult and painful history. From the early hopeful days of UNU's leadership to the dramatic military coups, Myanmar's journey has been a struggle for power, democracy, and national identity. The ongoing conflicts, the rise of the NLD, and the 2023 challenges to the junta's control all paint a clear picture of a nation in flux. The nation's people are on a continuous quest for a stable and democratic Myanmar.